Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Friday, June 27th. If you join me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks. It's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters, and that's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. After that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Friday's slate overall. And then in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report that I have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher listed down there in that comment section. And then I will also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down there, especially as we do get closer to lock, so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information. But without further ado, we'll get started with the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position. A lot of viable pitchers out there today, but I did ultimately end up on Merrill Kelly at $9,900. Currently averaging just over 33 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Miami Marlins. He's got some pretty good history versus them in the past, although it is limited history at that. He had one start versus them earlier this season where he had 52 fantasy points, and he did not pitch against them last year in 2024, but definitely do like his upside in this matchup overall. However, like I mentioned, a lot of good pitchers pitching on this slate just in general, but if we look at what Merrill Kelly's done on the season so far, 7 wins, ERA is at 3.39, so it's been a pretty solid season for him so far. Currently averaging just over 33 fantasy points per game at $9,900. Then we're going to move down to our hitters. We're going to start off with Ben Rice at first base. He is $3,100, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game on the season, and he is going against the Athletics. Mitch Spence is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is 1-for-1 with 1 home run in his career versus Mitch Spence. He has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 games, 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 2 home runs, 3 double-digit performances. In all 4 games, he's had at least 9 fantasy points or higher, so it does offer a relatively safe floor. Obviously, we want to make sure that he is in that starting lineup, but going against the righty, he should be out there more likely than not. But, everyday playing time hasn't been quite as guaranteed for him since the return of Giancarlo Stanton just in general, but definitely do like the upside of Ben Rice in this matchup overall. Then we're going to move down to second base with Luis Arraez. You could also play him at first base. Obviously, we have Ben Rice there, so he slides over to second base for us here. He is $2,700, averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Cincinnati Reds. Nick Martinez is their expected starting pitcher. He is 2-for-4 with 1 home run in his career versus Nick Martinez. Luis Arraez is currently on a 12-game hitting streak. 5 of those games have been multi-hit games. No home runs during that time span, though. 3 double-digit performances in 7 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So obviously the floor is a little bit lower with Luis Arraez. If he only goes out and gets a single, probably not the greatest overall, but definitely do like his upside in this matchup, especially going against Nick Martinez, who he has hit really well throughout his career. And if we look at what he's done so far in the season, 288 batting average, 3 home runs, 30 RBIs, once again averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game at $2,700. Then we move down to the outfield. We're going to start off with Brenton Doyle of the Colorado Rockies, $2,400, averaging just under 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He's going against the Milwaukee Brewers. Jose Quintana is the expected starting pitcher for them. He's 1-for-3 with 1 home run versus Jose Quintana in his career. He has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 games, 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 1 home run, but does have 3 double-digit performances, so he's been doing really well as of late. And if we look at what he's done on the season in totality, 195 batting average, 6 home runs, 26 RBIs, once again averaging just under 8 fantasy points per game. He's at $2,400 because it has been that down season for him, but as of late he's looked really good, and I'm willing to bank on that history versus Jose Quintana in the past, as well as that recent performance out of Brenton Doyle as of late. And then last but not least, we're going to move down to Riley Green. He's all the way up to $3,600 at this point in time, averaging just over 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He's going against the Minnesota Twins. David Festa is the expected starting pitcher for them. And if we look at what Riley Green's done against David Festa in his career, he's 3-for-5 with 1 home run. If we look at what he's done as of late, he has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 games, 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 2 double-digit performances, and if you go back even further, he's been doing really well as of late, so definitely do like the upside of Riley Green in this matchup. It's been a really strong season for him, 295 batting average, 17 home runs, 61 RBIs, currently averaging just over 11.5 fantasy points per game at $3,600. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that do currently have listed here, you got $13,300 remaining, just over $3,300 remaining per player. So a lot of different ways that you can build out your lineup the rest of the way. Obviously, do not need to play all 5 of these players together. They're all playing from different teams. Stacks will play a really big role. It's a 14-game main slate, so definitely feel free to mix and match as you do see fit. A lot of different options out there at that pitcher position and a lot of different potential stacks at the same time as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Friday's slate overall. So we're going to start off with the New York Yankees. They're going against Mr. Spence of the Athletics. They don't have a long list history versus him, but the history that they do have is pretty solid. So definitely like getting to the Yankees just in general. Whether that's Ben Rice, Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Aaron Judge, there is quite a few different options out there just in general. Then we'll move over to the Detroit Tigers going against David Festa. Festa relies heavily on his fastball. He's pretty hittable. It has not been a good season for him, so definitely do like the Tigers in this matchup. And they do have decent but limited history versus him in the past. And then we move over to San Diego Padres. They have hit Nick Martinez really well in the past. His two most recent appearances have come out of the bullpens, so maybe he's not quite as stretched out as he typically is, as he'll probably be transitioning to a bullpen role once some of their other starters get healthy at this point in time. And then last but not least, we have the San Francisco Giants going against Aaron Savali. It's kind of hit or miss history in the past. It's pretty limited sample size at that, but definitely do like their upside going against Aaron Savali, who has not pitched well so far this season. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Friday, June 27th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I will also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date information as possible, especially as we do head into lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. Obviously, Thursday was a weird slate, so I didn't cover that one. And then Wednesday, I do apologize, as the pricing did come out quite a bit later than typically expected. Hopefully, you had some success with the cheat sheet that I was able to put out in the morning, but was unfortunately unable to happen that evening, so I definitely do apologize for that. And then I do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesdays. So if that's something you're into, definitely be sure to check that out at the same time as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user to any one of those three sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tune in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Friday, June 27th.